Pace is dropped on a new round of soccer down here. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday. John here, you there, wasting no time. Jarrett here. Jarrett's back.
Yay.
Well, I mean, I know that the real world kind of takes up a lot of your time. I'm glad when you can come in here and not kill people unless it's worthy.
Well, has anything happened that deserves it?
Killing people? I mean,
don't know.
I mean, there's a lot to talk about this morning. I mean, we got Bart on. Bart's on at 9:30 to talk M&T and reffing down here. That might be worthy of killing folks when we get into reffing down here at 9:30.
Might be worthy. Might be you. Might be he. Might go off just on USM&T and USW&T.
Yep. And then Dylan, and this is something that you know about full well. Dylan has the let's see, how do we phrase this? It is the rite of passage of having a child. First day of pre-K is today.
Oh God.
So he'll be on in the 10 o'clock hour. We just don't know when.
Yeah, you get the moment where you're like, okay, we're going to drop you off. And it's either going to be that they are fused to your leg as if welded by some 70-year-old man who has been doing the job since, Jesus wore sandals.
Yes.
Or in my case, when you drop your child off and they don't even say goodbye. Just grab the bag and run.
They peace out.
Well, they peace out and they go see their friends,
yes.
Which is great because they're enjoying school.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you'll get one of those two, and both of them are equally funny, at least from the outside.
Yes.
Mine doesn't even say good morning to me anymore, or goodbye to me. She just hops out of the car.
She's hard.
Drop off.
Ivy Board.
She hops out of the car, will drop off, and she just goes. That's it.
Ivy Board is out the door. Morning, Alex. Morning, Ricky. Evening, Bam. See, it's going to take me a while. No matter how long, Bam is going to be, part of our listenership, viewership. I'm always going to screw that up. By the way, for those of you who are checking in for the first time, Bam is based in Australia. He's also in charge of the LAFC podcast down there. And so Bam comes and hangs out with us before he goes to bed. And so it's like 11 o'clock at night. If you're watching us or listening to us live. And so Bam is 14 hours ahead, and he ends his day this way instead of starting his day this way like everybody here in the continental United States. So I don't know if Alex is fully recovered from the Champions League draw. We'll get into that with Dylan as well, with the group of death upon death. Ricky says first time he dropped off his son at daycare. He just said bye was something else. Bye, I'm out. So you end up with that. Yes. Bam. This is trouble. The sweet, sweet sounds of John and Jarrett get me ready for bed. That sounds kind of dangerous to me.
It's a terrible idea, but I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do with your time or your life.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we got plenty of stuff to talk about. We've got
games tonight, don't we?
Do we have games tonight? I think it's Nations League. I don't think it's like games.
Oh yeah, Nations League. Sorry.
So we've got Nations League tomorrow.
Last Saturday.
Yeah, we got that basically means we're going to have like a weekend whip around, and Messi and friends are going to have 9 absences for national team duty. So
watch them still beat Kansas City just to spite everyone.
Yeah.
Because these games in hand are going to be where everything gets separated for them.
Mm-hmm.
Watch that be the thing that puts them over the top. Is like we're just sitting here screaming at Peter Vermes for not beating a functionally crippled Miami team.
Figure it out. Yeah, we got 4 on Saturday and 1 on Sunday, and we'll get into those on Friday. We've got stuff involving
AFCON in 6 hours. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I mean, let's see. We've got stuff with Spain, stuff with Howard Webb and England. We've got Mason Greenwood being unveiled at Getafe to a tone-deaf situation. We got all, like I said, we got Vilda out. We have the final verdict on the Leicester helicopter crash. We've got stuff in Major League Soccer I want to talk to you about because I don't know how long you're going to be here. So this is probably going to end up being opening kickoff. So there's plenty to get into this morning. So opening kickoff. Let me get into opening kickoff before we go and actually talking about other stuff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. And that's the QR code. For those of you who are watching on Twitch, once again, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. Oh, and Facebook and Twitter, too. So don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. And thanks to everybody who has been purchasing so far to start off your day or to kick off your day. And they, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games and youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and KickoffCoffeeCO.com. Yesterday, and this has been, I guess, part of the ongoing saga involving the sale or no sale of Manchester United and people being pissed that the Glazers still want to be a part of the action. Matt Slater over at The Athletic. Manchester United's share price fell by a record amount yesterday as concerns grow among investors that the club's much anticipated sale is off. So folks are selling if they think that the Glazers are still going to hang. Shares in the side were worth $23.66 US when trading closed on the New York Stock Exchange on Friday ahead of Labor Day weekend. Trading resumed on Tuesday. The price crashed by more than $5, hitting a low of $18.83 before recovering slightly to close at $19.35. So basically down 4 over 24, 17% basically, 18.2 Slater says. Biggest decline in the share price since the club was floated in 2012. Worst day before Tuesday came in March of 2020 when the pandemic shut everything down, wiping almost 14% off the value of the club. Wondering what it all means as we continue to read on, thanks to our buddy Matt Slater. In cash terms, the club's market capitalization, total value of shares, fell by almost $700 million. Not unusual for shares to fall after a long weekend, particularly in September. Clearly more to the sell-off. This is Slater's words than the market's traditional rhythms. The immediate cause is likely to be a report in the British newspaper The Mail. Once again, 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. On Sunday, claiming the club's owners are about to take United off the market. Last November, club announced the Glazers, who'd owned the club since 2005, were looking at selling. That was welcomed. You had 12 to 14 per share go up to 22. Glazers had hoped the announcement would start a lively auction for the club, but they ain't getting what they're looking for. Sheikh Jassim bin Hamid Al Thani and Sir Jim Ratcliffe have made offers, including debts at closer to 5 to 6.3. Sheikh Jassim wants the whole thing. Sir Jim Ratcliffe was saying, okay, 30% to the Glazers, you guys can still be a part of it. Ratcliffe's only initially interested in the family shares. At the peak of the fever in February, the price hit 27, only to fall in 18. So yesterday, if you had Manchester United stock, you took it, and you just got absolutely destroyed yesterday. 18.2% drop in shares. Yes, Bam. Buy. Where are the Duke brothers in this? I want to know where the Duke brothers are.
They're selling, Mortimer.
Yes, they are. They need to buy back in.
I was really wondering when this happened. Like, are we going to get like an Anaheim Angels kind of thing?
Oh, why do you bring that up?
Because that's the first thing I thought of is like, hey, we're going to sell the team and everyone's happy. Just kidding. We're not going to sell the team. You're stuck with us for the foreseeable future. Welcome to hell.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. As the Angels fan here on this network, I get to put up with Artie Moreno.
Somehow you're still paying for not even the sins of 2002. No. It wasn't even sins. It was like you managed to win a World Series in spite of Barry Bonds' best efforts, but it's almost like it almost is like your team is still paying for sins, but they didn't really like. It's not like they. I mean, the rally monkey was a thing, but it wasn't. We've seen more inconceivable, like 2006 Cardinals was, or 2006. Yeah, 2006 Cardinals was pretty inconceivable.
Yeah.
More so than the Angels.
Mm-hmm.
But it still feels like you're like paying down debts for 2002 for some stupid reason.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Before we go, Ricky, we may get into a full grid of who's playing. Yes, Hutch, Mortimer, your brother's not well. and then Don Amici, who completely and totally was uncomfortable with the words that followed in that particular scene. It took him basically forever to just get up the courage to sit there because it was so unlike him.
Well, the same thing happened in I think the same thing happened in Airplane. Oh God, who was the actor? Who played Clarence?
Peter Graves.
Yeah, Peter Graves was like uncomfortable with some of the stuff that they wanted him to say because
Ever seen a grown man naked?
Like he was very wholesome, and he was like not comfortable with some of the lines. Yeah, like the grooming scenes.
Yes.
He was very not comfortable with that, not happy about it at all.
Yes. Yeah. No, Mr. Over the red courtesy phone. So yes, but so you have these situations. But yeah, Manchester United stock went in yesterday, 18%. So yes, I believe it is a situation where you probably should buy.
I believe that sounds like a personal problem.
Yes, yes, it does. So that's opening kickoff. Just to let you know that there is a stock option availability for you. If you should be so inclined, or even if you wish to purchase something as an anger buy, even if you don't like Manchester United, use it as a write-off, a corporate write-off, perhaps. That's
please buy. Just go buy Manchester United. Somebody.
Yes, anybody, please. That's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And don't forget to use the code SOCCER down here, 15, to get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% and reinvest it in youth games and youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I know that we'll catch up with Dylan about this stuff in hour number 2, but yesterday, and this is why, this is the downside to not having an afternoon show, is that you have all of these things happening yesterday. And one thing happened, and we're kind of waiting on another. And when you have things appear on social media, your spidey senses go up. But yesterday in Major League Soccer, well, first off, bad news for NYCFC. Maxi Morales out for the year. He had done well in his comeback, and he has hurt his knee, and so he's having surgery, and he'll be out for a while. Robin Frazier. Colorado parts ways with Robin Frazier. And their wooden spoon material, 3-13-10, bottom of the West, 16 goals this season. And so Patrick Smith says what, you're supposed to say as a club president. Difficult decision, one we felt was necessary to best position the club to return to the playoffs and ultimately compete for trophies. We thank Robin for his 4 years of dedicated work. We wish him nothing but the best in the future. And they had a nice video that they posted to social. 47, 48, and 34 across all comps. First place Western Conference finish in 2021. He had experience, obviously, with the Chivas USA and assistant RSL, Red Bulls Toronto. And once again, no Jack Price. And you just zero goals. I mean, just absolutely no goals. And Robin Frazier, after a disastrous run of form this year, Jarrett, is out the door in Colorado. Not really. I mean, not a surprise, but timing. I mean, this late in the year, do you just, that's the question. And like I said, we'll ask Dylan when he comes in. Do you just let Robin coach for the remainder of the year? Or do you feel like things are so untenable that you've got to make this kind of a move and figure out, where to go from here and get things set up for next season?
Yeah, man, like I don't love firing a guy at this point. At this point, just let it ride out. Obviously, he doesn't carry the same cachet as like Gio carried in Portland. That one bothered me more just because Gio had been there for a long time, comparatively speaking, and had taken you to 2 MLS Cup finals and won hardware at the MLS's back tournament, which no one else will probably ever win, God willing.
Yes.
Unless we get bubonic plague 2.0.
Don't encourage.
Man, at this point, there's no predicting anything. But yeah, man, it was just I don't know. I always feel weird when you fire someone in like September. Like we're almost done.
Yeah.
Like unless you have that next guy like ready to go, just let him ride it out. What is it gonna hurt? Like Portland decided to make the change in kind of like flailing in the water where they're, possibly drowning, possibly not. They're just kind of flailing in the water
Right.
to whatever the heck they can
to
try and get above the playoff line. Don't expect it to work. Again, remember, we had a casket match last week between Seattle and Portland, and somehow they both buried each other.
Yeah.
That was amazing. But like, if you're Colorado, unless you've got that next guy like literally ready to go, what's the damn harm in just letting him ride it out and doing a Black Monday and firing him, the day after the season?
Yeah, because I mean, right now,
my only caveat to that being, John, that if he has lost the locker room and it's toxic,
right?
That's the only other thing I can think of that would have been a thing.
Yeah, I mean, right now you're 10 points clear, 8 matches to go. You're at 26 matches, and you're 10 points from next to last. I mean, seriously, 3-13-10, 16 goals in 26 matches, and you've given up 39. Just think of what would be if you didn't have William Yarborough in that, what it would be there. So you're looking at what's going on in Colorado. Bam, our Western Conference guru from the truly Western frontier. Did the club say recently he had the full support of the board? And then at this stage, unless you have the replacement for next season ready, let him stay. And I think that's the prevailing thought for me. It's like, look, if you want to build a runway, then, just do it now. Tell Robin at the end of this, you could tell Robin now, look, at the end of this season, we're going to let you go. Go ahead and coach out the string.
Do what LSU did with Orgeron. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, and then you end up with Coach O with the Prairie Dogs. Go Rapids. I mean,
oh my God, Coach O Coach O outside of Denver would be outstanding content.
Here in Common City, we're going to try to do our best. Go Rapid, something like that. But yeah, and bam, literally, what's the worst he can do? Right now, you're already wooden spoon.
Yeah.
What's the worst you can do? I don't think there's anything worse than wooden spoon. And unless if there is, I don't know what material it is. But, I mean, yeah, you lose Jack Price out of the blocks. You've had virtually no offense this season at all. And like I said, if you didn't have William Yarborough between the sticks, it would be a lot worse when it comes to your goals against average. And so the other thing, I don't know, and Ricky probably saw this, and this is where the other name is attached to everything. Showery Joseph yesterday on his social media, on his 280 character platform, wrote something that looked like a goodbye letter to Bruce Arena. And at Joseph Showery on the Twitters. So yesterday, basically what was in hour number 2 of our show. Here's what Showery Joseph writes. Thank you for being the man you are, 100% fist bump emoji. I appreciate every lesson and early morning conversations we used to have. Love you, big guy. Sounds like a goodbye note, but Showery has not come in from behind and followed up with that statement. We have heard less than nothing, and I mean less than nothing, about Bruce Arena in New England.
Yeah, it's been almost comedically, insultingly silent.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a good way.
Yeah.
From the league. Yeah, but that yesterday leads you to believe that the resolution is coming, and it is a resolution that does not involve Bruce Arena. I had also seen some unconfirmed stuff that basically it's going to be a clean house kind of thing at the end of the season for the Revs, which is weird because the Revs are good, and we don't usually associate with house cleanings with good teams. Now herein lies the question: if he goes, one of two things.
Mm-hmm.
Either he did something really dumb that you just can't keep him around, and this is the one I'm leaning on personally because of the timeline.
Yeah.
He did something that is in a very gray area that they can't necessarily punish him for, but they don't really want to keep him around for. So they discussed a potential, hey, how about we'll give you money, you'll leave, and we'll call it even. Or Bruce might have just said, I'm done, bye.
Yeah, I mean,
you just got fed up with waiting.
Because you're what? You're
Bruce is absolutely that person who's going to go to the restaurant. You bring him water, and he's going to sit at the table for 7 or 8 minutes, drumming his fingers almost to the point of breaking them on the table, waiting for the server to come. And when they don't come, he's going to get up and walk out the restaurant.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, dude has waited for his server, and he hasn't shown up. And it's just like, I would, if I'm 71 years old, there's just a part of me that's just all idgaff. And I'm like, you know what? Part of me would sit there and say, I'm done. It's like, whatever, I'm out the door. But we have heard, and I know that Shooter probably has some things when he listens to the show, and he'll catch up. But hearing less than nothing from the moment it has happened, we have heard zip, zero, nada, nothing bupkis about anything.
The fact that we haven't heard anything clear cut also leads me to believe that it's like something that's a gray area.
Yeah.
They can't just outright, fire him with cause, but that they're kind of in a weird spot, and they're just deciding, hey, what if we just went our separate ways, bud? And I got to see where I saw it, because I don't even know if it was confirmed or not, or if it was a good source or not. The idea, remember, check your sources, kids.
Yes.
That, basically they're going to clean house in the off season with the coaching staff.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, I wonder if it's falling into that kind of gray area, and either they all reached an agreement, or Bruce said, I'm done with you. Bye. I'm not doing this. I'm not waiting around. I'm not waiting around for my server to bring me an Arnold Palmer and, a basket of rolls.
Right.
I don't feel like waiting around the TGI Fridays long enough for this.
No.
Which, I don't know. He seems like more of a Bennigan's guy.
Yeah, or a Fuddruckers?
Or Beef O'Brady's.
Yes, there you go.
Bruce would absolutely destroy Beef O'Brady's.
Oh, that would be tremendous to see that happen. That would be absolutely tremendous.
Like Bruce goes and beats Orlando 3-1 in Orlando on a rainy Saturday night. Mm-hmm. And you can find him after the game as they stay in a hotel for one more night, and he's in like a Beef O'Brady's somewhere, just soaked to the bone, just absolutely housing the most ungodly and sacrilegious meal he can find there. And I will stand and applaud him.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. I would love that. See, now you've got me all, you got me all jonesing for Beef O'Brady's now. I mean, that's
can't help you there.
No, I know none of us can really help us, because then we would have to go to, we would have to go to like Central Florida or something like that to figure out what to do on that menu. But no, that's
the only thing standing between Bruce Arena and putting the chef up against the wall by the scruff of his shirt is time.
Yes. And the normal lack of patience if something isn't served in a timely fashion, or if it does not meet the man's masticating specifications.
Bruce has a code, and he has standards.
Yeah,
and he's going to stick to both of those.
Yeah,
But I do wonder, like, if this is the end, does he coach somewhere else in MLS? Does he coach at a local? Man, because I still have my opinions, by the way, on I'm still sticking by my opinions on Colorado, who they should hire next. Although I almost need Bart for that, just so I can give him the aneurysm.
Well, and that's why I'm holding off.
Ricky said no one has ever joked for Beefo Brady's. That's accurate.
I was more thinking about Fuddruckers and their burgers. I mean, because Cartersville in 2005 for a Beef O'Brady's. I mean, we've all got to go to like Central Florida or something. Heck, I even remember when Beef O'Brady's had a bowl game. I think it was the bowl game in Tampa at Suncoast Dome. It used to be the St. Petersburg Bowl, not the anything at the Pirate Ship or the Big Sombrero or anything like that. But inside Suncoast Dome, the St. Pete Bowl, I think Beef O'Brady's actually sponsored that once. And they had a couple of seasons where it was the Beef O'Brady's Bowl. So, I mean, hey, you could have good appetizers and sit there and have a lower level bowl game in the Suncoast Dome in St. Petersburg, Florida, named after a restaurant where folks could have rather large burgers and decent appetizers, and apparently king-sized hops-based beverages. Speaking of beverages, they're not hops-based. It is 9:30, and so Bart is with which mug, sir?
Wicked.
Okay, the Wicked Witch of the stage, and okay, so Jarrett, I'm going to let you finish sipping from your Wicked mug, sir. Jarrett, we were discussing what was going on in Colorado and Robin Frazier being dismissed yesterday for not winning. And Jarrett has a theory as to whom they should get for their next coach. And I wanted to hold off on this idea for him to present it until you showed up so the two of you could have this discussion. Jarrett, please engage.
Let me introduce you to the concept of running at high altitude for extreme amounts of time. Let me introduce you to the concept of a man who will be in charge of not just the first team, but also the way the academy works, which honestly needs work in Colorado as well. He ain't going to take the job, but you pick up the phone and you sell this to Jesse Marsh right now.
Well, I mean, he's the best former MLS coach out there, right? I mean, Chacha's taken, so.
Could you imagine pressing a team in Colorado in like the 80th minute?
I mean, isn't the theory that like once you're there, once you're acclimated, you're fine? I mean, I saw kids running up and like literally running up and down a 14,000 foot mountain when I was out there. And we're dying trying to just make it up this icy path, and they're sprinting.
On them.
Yeah, and you got the Air Force Academy right there. You can just recruit from the Air Force Academy.
Yeah, Tristan Traeger.
Or do they run? I don't want to offend any military people who think the Air Force doesn't run. Sorry.
But just like because I remember we discussed this with Jeff Larenowitz in the past when he was still playing with Atlanta United, that like it's the problem is when you're playing and like you're halfway through the game and then you're trying to like breathe and it just feels like you're getting less and less oxygen with every breath. And it's just this feeling of like, not like you're suffocating, but just like when you try and breathe it in, you're just not getting as much. And it's almost like it's less and less every time. It's like taking a health pack, I guess. And the health pack in a video game keeps doing less and less good for you. It's all you're left with at that point is just huffing and puffing. And I can't imagine spending 70 or 80 minutes running around. And then, oh, Jesus, now they're pressing us. Just get it out of here.
I think I buy it on the fact that, yes, Jesse Marsh would force them to actually do something with their academy system, which would be good because right now they don't do anything.
You would also give them a clear style of play, which they lack.
Yeah, I saw two thoughts on all of this. One, I do think that Colorado could be a good destination if there were money put into it. Denver's a great city.
Stan Kroenke.
Yeah. Listen, I understand the emotional terrorism Stan Kroenke inflicts on fans of his clubs. But Colorado we see what they're doing in Sandy, Utah, right out in Salt Lake City and in that stadium there. It can be a hard place to come play and win. And if you devote time to you got to think too. We had multiple girls on this U.S. women's national team from Colorado, from the Denver area. Mm-hmm. There's soccer in that area between Boulder and Colorado Springs. There's soccer. You look at what the Switchbacks have been able to build for, a very long time, and they have built two soccer-specific stadiums in Colorado. One that's that was kind of rinky-dink, whatever. But this one they have now is beautiful. It is there. You just got to find the right coach, but that also takes actually investing in your team.
And Ricky and Bam are suggesting Bob Bradley.
No, I'm sorry. Not anymore.
Maybe a decade ago.
Only if you want Michael to come as an assistant, because that's happening. After this year, I think Toronto is going to hit the big red button and just fully reset the stamp thing and let Michael move on.
That would require Bill Manning admitting he's wrong.
That's very true, but let Michael move on. Like Michael's had good.
John Herdman. They've got John Herdman coming in as coach.
I can see John Herdman forcing the big red button push.
Yeah, and then wanting to do it exactly his way.
Yeah. What way that is, Jarrett, we don't know because the man has never coached at the club level. But whatever his way seems to be that day.
That's the fun of the adventure.
Yeah.
This is with the John Herdman create your own adventure coloring book.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jarrett, here's my question. Sorry, John. I gotta ask Jarrett. Okay, so let's pretend that we're wholly unsatisfied with the Gonzalo Pineda experience. Let's just pretend for that. Let's pause it.
All right.
Is Robin Fraser a guy you would hire in Atlanta? Okay, thank you. I saw this floating out on Twitter the other day, and I'm like, look, I am not a fan of Gonzo, but Jarrett, I want your opinion. Like, do you think Robin Fraser is a guy that would fit Atlanta United?
No.
Okay. Do you think New England should be calling him yesterday?
Well, no.
I don't know.
I think I would, given it seems he's very well liked by the players. Still unsure why they fired him unless there were issues in the locker room. Just at this point, you're wooden spoon. You're not.
I'm with you. Like at this point, firing a manager doesn't make you better or worse.
It's not like you're on the edge of the playoff picture.
Yeah. It's also not like you're trying to vie for the next best coaching candidate because there's so many in the world of soccer. It's not like.
Yeah. What are you?
Unless they want Bob Bradley.
What are you going to go get Marcelo Gallardo and convince him to go to Commerce City?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But I don't know, man. I think given how this went, I'd be really interested to see him on someone's staff and be a number 2, and then go from there maybe to be that guy who makes the jump after that. I'd be interested to see him do that.
All right, I got to hit this button.
Okay.
Spanish, this is from the AP. Spanish soccer player Jenny Hermoso has accused Luis Rubiales of sexual assault for kissing her on the lips without her consent after the Women's World Cup, the country's prosecutor's office said today. Rubiales, the now suspended president of the Spanish Soccer Federation, and he goes into the details, kissed Hermoso on the lips during the awards ceremony back on August 20. Rubiales insisted the kiss was consensual. Hermoso has denied that. She also said she and her family were pressured by the Fed to show her support for Rubiales in the immediate aftermath of the scandal caused by the kiss. Spain's government, players, union players, and many citizens have come out in support of Hermoso. Rubiales, meanwhile, has become a soccer outcast, even while he refuses to resign. Rubiales suspended from his post by FIFA on August 27. which he claimed he was a victim of a witch hunt by false feminists. The prosecutor's office said Hermoso made the accusation on Tuesday. Prosecutors had said last week they were going to meet with Hermoso to give her the opportunity to present an accusation against Rubiales. Once again, Jenny Hermoso now plays for Pachuca after a long career with teams like Barca, PSG, and Atletico Madrid. That is from our friends at the AP. Jenny Hermoso, not messing around.
Drag him through the mud. Drag him.
I mean,
the man deserves zero, like anything, other than several years.
Zero jobs
in prison.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yesterday we had a couple of other activities.
Yesterday was a fun one in this saga. Let's just put it that way.
Jorge Vilda sacked 16 days after. Montse Tomé, former assistant manager, named as the permanent successor. So we had that yesterday. Vilda had been dismissed from his role as sporting director of the Spain's women's team. Decision was taken by acting RFEF president Pedro Rocha, who came up with a 3-page manifesto apologizing for stuff. Royal Spanish Football Federation, one of the first renewal measures announced by President Pedro Rocha, this is yesterday, had decided to dispense with the services of Jorge Vilda as sports director and women's national coach. Then you get the paragraph thanking him for his work. Tomé was one of the 11 members of Spain's coaching staff who resigned on August 26th via a joint statement citing the unacceptable attitudes and actions of the RFEF chief. The 41-year-old former Spain international had held the role of assistant coach since 2018 and becomes the first woman to hold the head coach role for the Spain's women's team. Rubiales had been a staunch supporter of Vilda, backing him after 15 players wrote to the RFEF in September, asking not to be called up until changes were made to the national setup. And they were pictured celebrating after the World Cup win. Yeah, you win. I mean, you're going to have pictures like that. Vilda had given Rubiales a standing ovation at the RFEF assembly back on August 25th after the president reiterated he would not resign from his post. Like I said yesterday, the only thing that was missing was the taking off of the shoe, like Nikita Khrushchev, and banging it on the table at the time that he was making that. Two days later, the head coach criticized the improper behavior of Rubiales, but did not step down as manager, despite 81 Spain players refusing to play until the leadership of the RFEF changed and 11 members of the coaching staff resigning. And then we have addressing where Rubiales promised Vilda big increase in his salary. Tomei's first matches in charge will be Nations League fixtures against Sweden and Switzerland. So there you go.
So all this sounds really great, right? Like we're making 2 really good steps. We've apologized profusely. I mean, that was a long letter. I still think that the letter read a little bit more like, we're sorry what happened after all that. I think they need to go back a little bit and be like, hey, and we also admit that we kind of screwed up this whole thing before the World Cup, but like we'll take what they gave us at this point in time. Then we have Vilda being sacked, which is long overdue. I think the Spain team, and I mean, y'all have heard me. I didn't trust them in this World Cup because they've never won a knockout round match, and a lot of that had to do with Jorge Vilda. It had nothing to do with the players.
Yeah.
They won in spite of him. That is the truth, in my opinion. Sorry. And now you have my concern, though, is we had 2 good things on its face. A female in charge of the women's national team for Spain, Montse Tomé. Good. Congratulations to her. I just don't want her to be this like, well, look, we put a woman in charge. It's fine.
Shiny object.
Right. Because there's plenty of other stuff. Like you could even argue that Jorge Vilda was like the least problematic part of all this because everything else within the Spanish FA toward the women's team was so, I don't even like dismissive, backhanded, obligatory, and Vilda was just another example of that. And so I'm hoping that Tomé gets to like actually coach the way she wants to coach, is listened to, and she says, hey, we need this, this, and this. Does obviously change a lot of things that the women were experiencing before and during the World Cup. But again, I'm always a proponent for more women in women's soccer, women in women's sports in general. But the problem is that she's one person at a table with a lot of other people who have not acted right for a very long time.
Jarrett, before I bring you into this, one other thing. Dermot Corrigan over at The Athletic yesterday. The Spain's men's team comes out. They come out with a statement. Morata and a couple of his teammates are there at the dais, and they have the statement saying that players were firmly and clearly on the side of the values the Spanish Football Federation represents: respect, inspiration, equality, diversity. Corrigan has this. However, according to sources familiar with the situation, speaking to The Athletic anonymously to protect their positions, some squad members did not believe it was important to issue any statement, and some staff at the RFEF attempted to have criticism of Rubiales' actions in Sydney watered down. Asked whether there had been any interference before the statement was issued, an RFEF source told The Athletic they had no comment to make, but they were in agreement with the words of the players. None of the 24 called up by Luis de la Fuente for the Euros against Georgia and Cyprus had previously commented since Rubiales kissed Jenny Hermoso on August 20. Many of those players who arrived at the RFEF base at Las Rosas near Madrid on Monday felt a responsibility to say something. After lunch, a players' meeting was held. Different versions of the statement were prepared before the final version was issued at the press conference. Morata's delivery was halting, avoiding eye contact with those present, no questions taken. And so you have that as well. So it appears that the statement went through many forms in trying to, the FA trying to tone down the criticism in the men's team statement. So there's that. So, Jarrett, I can't say I'm surprised.
No, it's just been kind of, look, it's a saga, but the saga hasn't gotten better. It's just been dumber as we've gone along, and the easy and obvious answer and solution here is just kind of staring at everybody, and they just refuse to do it. I don't know. It's kind of like everyone is staring at this busted pipe, and they're thinking of every possible way to fix the busted pipe other than replacing the busted pipe. When, as I tell my child when she starts protesting at bedtime, if you would have just done what you're supposed to do at the beginning, we would already be done.
Mm-hmm.
We could have already moved on. If you'd have just done what you should have done at the beginning, we could already be done and moved on and talking about other things, and you wouldn't have dragged yourself into the center of attention for over a month on end.
Mm-hmm. But when you have people in positions of power that feel like they are either impenetrable or above reproach, they're going to continue to try to keep things within their own sphere of control. And I think that's what we have here. You don't want to be called out anymore, even though the situation deserves you being called out. You're like, okay, enough with the piling on, but I hate to break it to you. When more stuff comes out, then you're going to deserve to be piled on, if that's the right phraseology.
If you're mad about being piled upon, okay, don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb.
Literally, all of these things that are happening are like, yeah, you're getting piled upon. Oh,
but that's a you problem.
Did you do anything to create this? You did? Well, then it sounds to me like you keep burning yourself after we told you repeatedly to take your hand off of the hot glass.
Don't touch the stove.
Quit blaming everyone else for your problems that you could fix yourself.
Okay.
You can fix your own problems. They're not that complicated.
Apparently.
You are just get off the cross. We need winter.
Yeah. Bart's about to lose his mind here.
It's just all so frustrating because not once in this entire thing have we mentioned that the Spanish women's national team defeated the overwhelming favorites in England in the final, held them scoreless. We're not talking about Sama Parayuelo. We're not talking about the performance of Jenny Hermoso, who, by the way, is not young. Like, let's just put it that way. She's, she was the senior leader of this team. We're not talking about Aitana Bonmati, who is not only the golden ball winner, but now UEFA Women's Player of the Year, probably winning Ballon d'Or, Champions League winner. Like, we're not talking about this. We're talking about a sick, perverted, demented freak of a man who can't be told that his actions are wrong.
Yeah.
and is crying like a little freaking toddler about this. And his mom is even be like, no, he's a perfect little angel baby. Shut up. I hope her hunger. I know she went to the hospital. Darn, because our hunger strike didn't go the way she planned. Go do it again. Take your whole family. Go hunger strike together.
I wish this were a lighter issue, because when you introduce hunger strike in a church, man, that's the kind of thing that we dream about with like embattled college football coach kind of thing, where we could just turn this on its head. And I wish it were a lighter. I wish it were a lighter issue so we could have more fun with it.
This feels so Art Briles right now. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Like Gandhi went on a hunger strike because of the treatment of a billion people, and the impoverished, to help the impoverished. And his mom is going on a hunger strike because her little baby boy was told, don't kiss women who don't want to be kissed. Like, come on.
This is very Bailery. This is very Bailery. Yes,
this is 1,000%.
Speaking of Baylor, John, I learned where San Marcos, Texas was this weekend.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know where it was before.
San Marcos, yes.
Yeah, I had to Google it. So
this is exactly how the Auburn Hugh Freeze tenure is going to end.
Yeah, it ain't gonna be pretty. I did not approve of that idea, as we've now evolved into the college football show.
Please talk about every other bad college football team right now. Let's go.
I sat there and watched LSU just get suffocated for 60 minutes. So
yeah.
But at least only one program in this country has built their team on the name, image, and likeness of Jesus Christ, and they're 0-2 since that statement. So that's great. Good job, Clemson.
Well, but maybe it was on the likeless of.
Which, by the way, I'm not even trying to comment on that part. It's just Dabo needs to get over his own damn self.
They're gonna somehow win the ACC, and it's gonna be insufferable.
Because the ACC is trash. Well, Florida State's not trash.
Well, my favorite theory here is, what if LSU is actually really, really bad and Florida State's just okay?
That's probably more accurate than people realize.
Jarrett, there's an AI generator that had I'll have to find it again on Instagram, but it had AI as Brian Kelly dressed as Kim Mulkey.
Oh, it was perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah. It was actually, I was like, no, actually he should dress like this. It was fantastic. It really was.
Well, people did want us to ask you about.
Yeah.
Feels mean.
No, I've given you my take. He's a terrible coach. He's bland. The man was hired because he has a wife and kids. That's the only reason he was hired. And now we're reaping the benefits of hiring a guy who can't even be imaginative enough to, run a fourth down. Like, what was so annoying is his creative play was a fourth down play where your backup quarterback, who hasn't been on the field the entire freaking game, is on the field. And we're all like, oh, yeah, so Martial is going to go to the quarterback spot. Green's going to go out wide. And what happened? They sacked us because we had no one protecting the throwing side of the quarterback. Shocking. Who could have predicted this? Oh, wait, every single person except our offensive genius guru, Neil Brown, who, by the way, took over play calling, because if we're going to go down, we're going to go down doing what we do best. It's like, you don't do nothing best, Neil. Go back to frickin' Troy, okay? Go back.
You know what, though? I when they hired him, I thought it was such a
I know. Everyone told me this.
I thought, well, man, look, I indulge in a lot of Sunbelt sickoness, and Troy was good. He was good.
They were good,
and it didn't. It's one of those that, like, it's kind of like the Justin Fuente one when he took over Virginia Tech from Memphis, because he had Memphis clicking.
Yeah,
and then went to Virginia Tech. No, he was just getting beaten into the ground by something called a Bronco Mendenhall.
Yeah.
So sometimes it don't work.
I mean, look, you hire the best people and you think that it'll work, and it doesn't sometimes. I mean, look, we had this with Atlanta United, and to be honest, Gabriel Heinze, where, I mean, I'll be the first to say I thought that was a slam dunk hire because his pedigree, because of, I was like, this man has been playing and coaching for forever in high quality leagues. MLS is not a high quality league. Surely he can find ways to make that work here. And then he decided to, withhold necessary life essentials from players. So, it happens sometimes.
If you want the next, like, insane manager out of South America. I am waiting for the day when Sebastian Becasese makes his way to MLS, because Sebastian Becasese.
Oh, I thought you were saying he should come to WVU. I was like, sure, why not? We'll give it a shot.
Well, Sebastian Becasese is in Elche right now in La Liga. He was hired in March. He was their fourth manager of the season. Becca's so you remember that spat where Jim Curtin just trashed Gabriel Heinze, and everyone went, yeah, we can trash talk other managers. Becasese might have assaulted him if that had happened.
Right there. Oh, by the way,
Becasese might have literally assaulted him. The man is unhinged.
Becasese has some of the best flow you will ever.
That's true.
Well, that was listen. That was another reason why I thought Gabby was a great hire, because it's a handsome man with a great head of hair. What has gone wrong by just hiring a man because he's handsome and has a good head of hair?
I mean, look, Becasese has better flow than Hervé Renard.
Bart just balked at the entire thing.
I think they're different. They're different.
Oh,
one is longer for sure.
One
is more sculpted and coiffed and teased and feathered.
Yes. Now that we've gone to the Waffle House of hair care, teased and feathered and coiffed. All right, reffing down here.
Yes, it was a foul.
Well, there were several.
Which one?
Yeah, which one?
There were multiple in this game. It was
okay. Let me just make this my opening statement. We'll talk about the Atlanta United Dallas game.
Sure.
Sometimes refs have bad games. I've been told. Not me personally. I didn't have a bad game this weekend. What are you talking about? Sometimes refs have bad games. 100%. The problem is we're supposed to have things in place that help referees when they're having a bad game. And putting two hands and extending through the back of a defender as an attacker is as referees, that's something that we just look for, period. That's a foul. I call that so many times, because once you go back to back or front to back and you're pushing, that's a foul. It's a foul. And even more so, we know that when we're looking for those defenders shielding a ball out of play, we know that the attacker is going to do that because they think they're entitled to the ball because they're prima donnas. Mm-hmm. And this incident is a perfect, that's a training video incident of yep, that's a foul. And he didn't call it because, I don't know, for some reason, he just felt like he didn't want to blow a whistle 3 minutes into the game. And then Brad Guzan is, still thinks he's young and can move, and we're down a goal. It was not, but then it just wasn't that, right? I think I tweeted out, does the ref not believe that Dallas can commit a foul? Because, it took him, I feel 30 minutes for him to acknowledge that Dallas was playing soccer and kicking us and pushing us whenever they felt like it. Meanwhile, we're picking up yellow cards and picking up fouls for, the same things they're doing to us. It was a bad game. It's okay to admit that. I know certain reporters that cover Atlanta United for certain publications want to be cool and say that it wasn't a foul, but they can be wrong. And it's okay. They're trying to get their street cred, and they were wrong.
Then the other one that I wanted to discuss with you, and it's more the larger picture of game management, making sure that if you are consistent with a call like Miles's call early, that you will maintain that kind of consistency
right
match. And it's the overarching thing that I like to get into you with when we get into reffing down here. The no call on Brooks Lennon getting stomped. And that was kind of what I was wondering if that was what your reaction was going to be.
Well, that one was, I could see that not being a foul because I think the ball may have been out of play. I'm trying to remember the actual series. I was also watching on my phone while trying to avoid acknowledging WVU football. But also several margarita shots in because RIP Jimmy Buffett. But it was, I can't remember if it was Brooks kicked it out and then he got stomped on, but that is absolutely a yellow card offense. It could have been a red card offense. Let's just be honest. And the fact that the referee, the fourth official, none of them, and the AR, none of them could be hey, yeah, that's a foul. That's a yellow card. that deserves some sort of admonishment, especially when you gave Gigi something for a soccer play. I mean, it's a yellow card. I'm not arguing the Gigi yellow card. Y'all can in the chat, but like that, okay, fine. It's a yellow card. But then you can't not give, I forget who it was, for that stomp on Brooks, because that's a yellow card. That's a red card, possibly. You know, that is that's a, like, we might have to go to VAR for a game-changing decision here.
Yeah.
That, again, bad game. It looked so obviously called, and like it was so obviously called in favor of Dallas. And I'm not saying like the referee meant to do that. It was just like, are you aware that Dallas can do wrong in this match? Because you were hesitant to do anything to admonish them for bad behavior, and they were the aggressors for most of the game. And then you got mad at Atlanta for responding one time. Like, that was kind of the problem here, is that it wasn't necessarily even that it wasn't consistent. It was that it wasn't. The narrative of the game seemed to have already been played out in the referee's head.
Right.
Again, refs can have bad games. As fans, you know, it's hard for us to be super neutral about this, but he had a bad game.
Right.
And again, the question is now, when his evaluation comes, is it to actually instruct him and help him do better? Or is it just to say, hey, you weren't great?
There we go. All right. So hang on. Fatal four-way to start hour number 2. Dylan Butler has made it back safely from pre-K. Now, Dylan, we were discussing this with Jarrett about why you might be a little late, but man, you worked your way back to be right on time this morning. So
listen, carpool line legend over here, Dylan Butler.
How did it go with pre-K, with the first day dropping somebody off?
Yeah, I mean, it's we went last week. I wasn't able to be on because we had the meet and greet. So, they walk you through all the, you drive in this way and you go over here and you line up in this time, and subscribing to the theory, it's always better to be early than late.
Very nice.
We were early. So we left a lot of time there. We even pulled off to the side for a few minutes because we were going to be really early. So that said, she was the first one at the door, and it's really funny because we didn't, we expected we would have time to be like, all right, we'll see you, have fun, enjoy your day. And being the first one at the door, they open the door like, okay, come on in, your teacher. And then she's like, poof, see ya. So no turning around and whatever. So it was
no waxing of the poetic, no turnaround over the shoulder with the
business, very business-like down the tunnel.
Dylan, I have some tactical questions if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
What was this, bribery? Was it just like pure motivation? Was it like, how did you get her to leave early?
She didn't know it was early, so we just
trickery. I love it. Okay.
We just were like, all right, let's go. So we just left. Obviously, she realized that at some point we were early because we had to pull off to the side to hang out for like 5 minutes. But
because I wanted to compare and contrast your experiences with Jarrett's, and Jarrett's with Ivy. Ivy's just like gone out the door. See you later. And Jarrett's
she doesn't even say goodbye to me anymore. They just open the door and she hops out of the car, and it's not even like a bye, Dad. Like the teacher who's running carpool will be like, okay, bye, and Ivy won't even turn around. She's like, yeah, we're done. I'll see you in a few hours.
And the whole, and this is a new school for us. It's a whole different thing. So it was literally our first time pulling up to it. So for us too, it was like, again, you don't want to be late, right? So but also they said, you can't really be too early because then you'll mess up the other people who are maybe late, because there's different for pre-K. There's like 4 different classes. There's like a 9:30 and a 9:50 arrival. So we were probably there like 9:37 for a 9:45 drop off. So
okay.
I don't know. It's a learning curve for us as well.
All right. So as part of this fatal four-way and transitioning from Bart to you, let's talk Champions League groups.
Yeah. Good one for Newcastle, right? Yeah.
There's Dylan gets
right over my head right there.
Yep, right there. So Dylan gets the groupiest group of death you could have ever had for groups of death. Bart.
I will say this.
Yeah.
There'll be fun matches, right? Like there'll be good atmospheres. All those clubs have to come to St. James, but holy cow. It'll I'm going to try to savor those matches because we're not coming out of that one alive.
Group B is where Bart gets to hang his hat. Sevilla, Arsenal, PSV, and Lens by comparison.
See, at least you have a Lens.
Yeah, I was happy. I think the thing that I was most happy with, and this is obviously now that we're in Champions League and not Europa League, which has been the problem for Arsenal for so many years. We don't have a whole lot of we don't have a long travel trip, right? Our longest trip is Sevilla. So the fact that Lens and PSV are literally just trips across the English Channel, that's key because we're not worried about like a long flight back on a Wednesday night. That I was happy with. Also, PSV, they look exciting, but they're very susceptible in defense. I'll get to watch Serginho Dest ball out, which will be fun. Again, whatever Serginho and Noah Lang do on that left side is not like defending, but it's very fun to watch. So being able to keep up with that in the group will be nice.
Yeah. To your point, travel-wise, it shouldn't be too bad either, right? For Newcastle, Milan, PSG, Dortmund. So
yeah, you're going to real places.
Yes.
Until next year, where we're in Europa League.
Yeah, that was the problem for like Arsenal is we're playing like Karabag and Portugal, and it's like okay, it's not a long trip, but where are you flying to? Like you're not flying to either Porto or Lisbon.
You're playing. At least you weren't playing in Kazakhstan to go.
Well, we had a final in Azerbaijan.
Yes,
one of those places. So
we're close. Bart, thanks for revving down here and all of those other things that we talked about. See, Dylan, we even got into college football down here this morning with Bart because Bart is a West Virginia grad, and we are apologizing that he has to put up with.
You don't have to apologize. It's just the fate that we have. I was really hoping I was able to tweet at Mike Conti for their post game show to be like, "Hey, Mike, go Mountaineers," and that was a pipe dream. So anyway,
all right. So
bye, y'all.
Bart is at SoccerForUSPod. Bart Keeler, Bartimus Prime 19. He's had his coffee. He's out the door. And so we were kind of getting into lead off of MLS things. And a lot of our talk in the first hour when it was brought to the floor was about Robin Fraser and getting sacked in Colorado. And let me get your ideas on this. I mean, right, you've only got a handful of games left in the season. You're 10 points behind LAG in the Western Conference. You ain't scoring goals. If you didn't have William Yarborough, it would be a lot worse. Why get rid of Robin Fraser now unless there's something we don't know about?
Yeah, I don't know. And if you're Robin Fraser, you're kind of just like, thank you. Because this, I'm not sure if that was purgatory or worse, but that's got to be the least – right, if you power ranked the coaching jobs in MLS right now, that's got to be at the very bottom.
Yeah.
And listen, great part of the country, right? The Denver area is awesome, but it's a club that doesn't seemingly have any ambitions, right? Like you can moneyball, but like Philly moneyballs, right? But they're successful in that.
Yeah, and because there's thought that's attached to it, and it's academy based, and
very good scouting.
Right.
Like so, they're able to find those third division German players, or something, guys like that. And you're right, and the academy. We've not heard either of those things from Colorado, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like.
Heard about rabid prairie dogs, and that's about it.
Their best signing was what, Jack Price, right? And that was how many years ago now?
Yeah, and Jack Price has been injured all year, so you haven't had his offense.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's one of those, you go in with the hazmats and there's a lot of bleach and you just got to figure that out. There's no easy answer to that. Certainly I would suspect anybody would realize that wasn't on Robin Fraser. That's an organizational thing. And they just at least let him leave early so he doesn't have to have another month and a half of this.
Yeah. Jarrett, for Dylan Butler, what's on your mind?
And so, and to that point of now that he is gone, assuming there's not changes above him, which it sounds like there should be, who can they get? Like,
I don't even think it's a getting thing, honestly. Look, I mean, they have to seriously figure out what they're doing organizationally. Like, who are they? What are we doing here? Because even before Messi's arrival, this was a league trending upwards, and not saying you always have to splash the cash, but if you don't, you need to have that strong academy situation, right? You need to have a really good scouting network. And, we've heard about this connection with Arsenal, but really, what has that done for them? Right? Like at least with like NYCFC, you utilize the City Football Group scouting network, which is global. So you're able to find, it's not just your scouts, right? You could utilize all of them. So, I don't know who the Rapids think they want to be or can be. But they are at ground zero right now. There's no doubt. And it's a West and a league that we're even seeing from the expansion teams, right? Like they're coming in with ambition and they're pushing the envelope. So they're being left behind right now. And
Arsene Wenger, that's who you get.
Well, no, like we spent this morning, and I don't think he would take the job, but just call Jesse Marsh and tell him you can build the academy and build the damn organization however you want. Just come in here and give us an identity. Jesse's got other things to do with his life.
He obviously then would need assurances that they're willing to spend and be active, right? I mean, again,
100%. It just somebody with if you can, somebody who can give you something like a Philadelphia, to your point, but who can bring in someone who can give you an idea of having an identity, having scouting, having work from the bottom up.
Look at Cincy, right, guys? Like they and they're the gold standard, I guess, in this, but it didn't take very long to go from dumpster fire to Shield, right? So it is about bringing in the right people and having the right mindset, which they do, but we're not seeing that from. So I don't think it's one of those things where, and it's what is both forgiving and maddening for a lot of people about this league is it doesn't take very long to right your wrongs, right? It also doesn't take long to get wrong. But it could, a year or two, you're right back in the mix.
And I don't know if you saw this either, but did the Showery Joseph 280 character post yesterday sound like a goodbye note to you?
I didn't see it, but that's my guy though. I covered him in at St. John's. I have a long relationship with Shal. I didn't see it though, but
okay. So I'll go back to it. Here's what he said yesterday, and it happened in this hour yesterday. Picture of him and Bruce. Thank you for being the man you are. 100% fist bump emoji. I appreciate every lesson and early morning conversations we used to have. Love you, big guy.
I don't know. So the question is, you're thinking it's a Showery goodbye?
No, I'm thinking it's a that
Yeah,
Shell is saying
that's what
goodbye.
it sounds like to me too. Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me too. Yeah, that was my first take from what you just said.
And it goes back to the idea that in the month or so, and I think it's like a month and 3 days now, when the announcement first happened that Bruce was being put on administrative leave, we have heard less than nothing. We've heard nothing from a club perspective, nothing from any of the media up there,
which isn't good for Bruce, I don't think. I think if you heard something, it would probably be along the lines of, the club investigated, they are going to do XYZ, and he'll be back, whenever.
Right. And we
figured he'd be out for a month, and now, he served that, so he'll be back on the touchline or whatever.
Yeah, and we have heard nothing, less than nothing. I mean, zero bupkis, nada about this whole thing. And when the Showery Joseph, when that comment popped up on his Twitter yesterday, it seemed like it seemed like it was a goodbye to Bruce,
Yeah.
And it's just to have someone on administrative leave this long without hearing any word, any. I mean, I'm like, I have no idea. And for any of us who watch the sport, cover the sport, to have zero ideas to what's going on, either what allegedly happened or what is happening in the thought process to come up with some kind of a solution conclusion, it's just this one's an odd bird, man. It really is.
You would think maybe the delay and kudos to the Revs, I guess, for not letting it get out. But also, if you remember, I think it was Pablo Maurer from The Athletic had a story at the beginning where even in the very beginning of this, a lot of people in the organization didn't know what was going on. So I think they're kind of keeping it to that, in a need to know sort of basis.
Mm-hmm.
But you would think, as they're having these meetings and boardrooms and things of that stuff, like, it's not just a conclusion on Bruce, which I think they're also now formulating the post Bruce plan, right? And I think that all is going to be tied together with this announcement. Like, to me, you don't maybe take as long as you do without trying to figure out what the next step is as well.
I was going to say, to come up with some kind of a succession plan, so everything laid out the way that the way that you want to when it comes to futures. We got a handful of games this weekend, and you got teams that got to make stuff up, and Messi and friends are all going to be out. Messi and friends, they're all out. 9 absences for Messi and friends as they host Sporting Kansas.
By the way, as soon as you said that, like, I don't know why the the Luke Bryan song just kicked into my head. All my friends.
Yeah.
But they're all going to be on. Yeah, they're all in different destinations.
So, what do you think about the Messi and friends rush that we have seen so far here? And they got matches in hand. One of them is one of these. And Jarrett was talking about Peter Vermes possibly knocking over the punch bowl here for the rush to get in as the 9 seed. What do you think about what you've seen so far?
I mean, a few things. What I've seen so far is unlike anything I've ever seen in this league before. Because even when Beckham arrived and all the hoopla that surrounded him, they were already a team, I think, in pretty good standing at that point. Like, they weren't the last place team in the West.
Right.
So, I mean, it continues to defy logic, right? I mean, and it's funny because I was on for MLS Sunday night, and I got the going off on a little bit of a tangent, but like everybody else, I saw the list of stars that were there, so I tell my wife, I'm like, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio is supposed to be there, and Prince Harry, and all these people, and I'm like, you should watch because we have the two different. I'm in the home office. She was in the living room. I'm like, you should watch the match in the living room. She's like, why? Just Miami's gonna win. Like, almost like that was like a boring, foregone conclusion. I'm like, well, no, they're defending MLS Cup / Supporters Shield winners, but she was right, I guess, right? Like, it's it's crazy. It's like the first thought was, oh well, they won the first one or two, but they're home, right? Wait till they get on the road. They're not going to deal with that. And they go to Dallas, and then you're like, well, all right, fine. You want a few PKs, but, can it be sustainable on the road? And wait till you have a long road trip. They did that too, on short rest. Or wait until you have to sub out. Like, so at some point he's got to rest. He did at Red Bull. And he came on and help them win the game there too. So, now one thing in a league where you can almost never say anything of certain, right? Like, you can never be certain about anything, it feels like.
Yeah.
We do know he's going to miss matches now. Like, that is absolutely a fact. Like, he will be wearing the Argentina jersey, and he will not be in Miami. He's not, as far as we know, he's not been able to clone himself.
Got the money
in the works. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so they will be missing him. But to that point, now they did have a lot of points to make up, obviously. When he started, right before his first league game, it wasn't at 12-12. Like, they had 12 games left to make up 12 points.
Yep.
I think the win in LA, again, there's not a lot of wiggle room, but there's a little bit now. I feel like I think when you construct sort of where you're getting points and how many points can you get and the whole formula to get in the playoffs, you are probably maybe saying maybe get one in LAFC, right? But they got all three, so maybe now, they could drop a point or two against Sporting. So we'll see. I mean, there is a difference, and this is now the first time we'll see this. There's got to be a difference of like levels, right? Him starting, him coming off the bench, which is a little bit lesser than starting because we saw what he was able to do off the bench, but now him not being there at all, right? Like that, break glass in case of emergency isn't there. So we will get our first taste of what that'll be like.
Yeah, we'll see. Jarrett, for Dylan, go.
Aside from a team like Miami, looking around, especially we'll keep it on the East, who other than, we know Cincinnati's going to lock up the Shield at this point, who other than Columbus really is that scary team for you come playoff time when it's, over 90 minutes, things can change, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think right now it's got to be Orlando, right? I mean, the resume that they're putting up is incredible, right? Like, they hand Cincinnati their first loss at home. It was in a week when they also beat St. Louis and they also beat Philly and Philly. So it's like they have this whole Road Warriors thing going on, but also proving that they can beat anybody in this league. So I think Facundo Torres is having a great run, right? A career year, and that they're the only team left, I think, that actually gets value out of the Super Draft. Like, for a while it was like Red Bull and they were getting a few guys there, but I mean, think about it going back, right? Like, they got Kyle Laren, right? Back in the day was a super draft, MLS super draft pick. Daryl Dike was, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was.
And now Duncan McGuire. Like, they just...
Pretty sure Chris Mueller was too.
Yeah, I think you're right. But especially at that forward position, man, they just seem to find these dudes. So credit to them to find them. But yeah, they're shaping up to be that scary team. And I think what Oscar Pareja said after the Cincinnati match, I think was important, where he said, he wished it wasn't the case, but he said, on the ball, he thought his team was good, but they were even better without the ball. And they had to suffer for long stretches, especially of that second half. He wished it wasn't. He wished that they held the ball more to alleviate some of that pressure, but they did well under pressure in a hostile environment against the team that's going to win the Shield. So very good signs right now for an Orlando team that really not many people were talking about at the start of the year, at the middle of the year, but down the stretch, they're certainly making their case.
Coincidentally, that's what Diego De La Torre talked about when Atlanta lost to Cincinnati. Was in the second half of their game. They fell into playing a transition game with Cincinnati, which you can't do. You can't get into transition battles with Lucho. But yeah, man, that was something. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something I was watching with Orlando. Is like Oscar gets pragmatic, but kind of works against a team like Cincinnati, where if you can get up on them, and Cincinnati give up early goals, like you can be pragmatic with them and not get into transition games. I love that shot of Orlando, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it goes counter to what we're traditionally seeing with an Oscar Pareja club, where as you go later in the year, he becomes safer. He becomes pragmatic, and I'll use pragmatic in the negative sense, where he becomes far more conservative than the personnel he has, and he kind of does this slow fade into the playoffs from the slot that they were in at the beginning of whenever Oscar pulls puts the golf tee in the golf cart to keep it, the engine from, going 70 miles an hour. This is so counter to what we're used to seeing from Orlando and Pareja.
Yeah, no, it is. But I think that's important as well for a club to have multiple ways of playing and having success in that, right? Like, it's not just, like we see up here, it's not just one way to play. It's not just energy drink soccer. It's, we can play with the ball. We can play without the ball. We can, counter, like they can hurt you in multiple ways. So even though Gillespie's not been the Gillespie we've seen, I think, of years prior, and they're also winning with injuries, right? Like even in that match, Duncan McGuire came out hurt, and they were still able to succeed. They've got injuries in the back. Schlegel has done really well as a center back there. So, they're a dangerous team. But I mean, the East playoffs, man, like holy hell, that's gonna be nuts. That's going to be, even if you have a match at 3:30, the East is like the most MLS after darky thing you can have. It's going to be crazy.
Even if it is middle of the afternoon.
Yeah.
Because if you turn all the lights out in your den, technically it is MLS after dark.
That's right.
And the thing is that now with the playoffs being different, it's not just, it's, what is it, 4 points or 2 wins? What is in the best of 3 situation? What is it?
Oh, yeah, I got to look. Yeah.
I mean, it's like 2 wins or 4 points or something like that are part of the new dynamic when it comes to what's going on. So, I mean,
of course, now that I'm loving those series now, that when you think of the East, right, like it's going to be incredible. All
right. So what else is going on in the world of Dylan Butler other than dropping kids off at school at early hours and things like that? What's going on?
Yeah, no. What is going on? I had our first football game of the season.
Varsity Media on YouTube.
Yep. That was last Saturday. We've got our first Friday night game coming up. St. Anthony's and Cardinal Hayes should be fun. By the way, it was so cool. A kid I literally just covered last year for St. Anthony's, Ian Strong, which is, by the way, a tremendous football name.
Yes.
I turn on the television Sunday a little bit, and his first collegiate catch is a touchdown for Rutgers.
There you go.
So good for him. They played Northwestern.
Oh, yes, they did. Northwestern is going to be god awful this year.
Yeah, right. I don't know if Rutgers is going to be a whole lot better, but they were better than that.
But for Rutgers to get the win, it was big for them to get that.
You get those wins whenever you can get them, yeah. And then on Saturday, I've got Iona, Prep, and Chaminade. So back-to-back games, as you can appreciate, lots of prep there as well. And for OSDB, I think this week's story is going to be, I'm going to take a look at a little bit of the Messi effect on the international call-ups.
Okay.
Right? Because we're now seeing, listen, Almada was already part of the Argentine setup, right? But, to have 3 players in MLS,
Velasco, yeah.
Right? Velasco as well. And then 2 Miami guys part of the US setup. So perhaps more eyeballs on Miami allows, or I should say more eyeballs on Messi, obviously, allows some of those players, it's perhaps even helping the rest of the league get call-ups. So.
Yeah. And so we're keeping an eye on all of this stuff. And as always, Dylan, my friend, fantastic to have you and to have you break things down from a dad pre-K perspective, from a high school and college perspective, yeah, and from Major League Soccer and international team stuff. Dylan, my friend, it's always great to have you on Wednesdays, especially now that you're making the mad dash to drop folks off and be back here to make sure that you make the 10 o'clock slot. Thank you again, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, it's Dylan Butler, and he is still trying to figure out how he got the draw that he and his Newcastle Geordies got in the Champions League. He's still trying to figure that out. I hope he enjoys the remainder of his Dunkin'. Whatever was in that Dunkin'. I'm wondering what was in that Dunkin' now that I'm thinking about it. What was in that Dunkin' on the way home? But Dylan Butler, at Dylan_Butler. And great always to have Dylan here to start off hour number 2. And it was the rare fatal 4-way that we had this morning with Dylan and Jarrett and Bart and me. One thing that we did not get into with Bart this morning, and Howard Webb. Howard Webb came to the fore, and he made the point. He made a point. Manchester City's goal should not have stood. This is the headline from my friends at the Telegraph. Man City goal should not have stood, but Man United offside fallout surprised me. He agrees with Marco Silva that Nathan Ake's goal should have been disallowed, but believes Erik ten Hag was playing wrong. From Tom Gibbs at the Telegraph. Howard Webb has admitted to several mistakes made by officials and video assistants in the opening weeks of the season, including a Manchester City goal which should not have stood. Premier League referees chief also made a veiled swipe. Like I said, this is Tom's wording. This is not mine. A veiled swipe at Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag. We'll get into Manchester United on a separate topic in just a bit. Who claimed Alejandro Garnacho was not offside shortly before scoring against Arsenal on Sunday. Ten Hag suggested the wrong camera angle had been used to make the decision, but Webb said the goal was rightly disallowed. Sidebar number 1. We're all at the mercy of where the cameras are in the building. If Erik ten Hag had a different camera angle, he should have said, hey, here's the different camera angle to prove my point. Any kind of analysis is stuck to the cameras that you have in place. You can't just create cameras out of thin air. You can't take Red Devil 027 428 962023 on the 280 character app or on the IG and have their angle from 25 rows up right along the line of the offside call. That doesn't work. It doesn't quite work that way. So unless Erik ten Hag had a different angle than the rest of us, that's a legit camera and not some dude on the IG, then you can't make a statement like that. Suggested the wrong camera angle had been used. If there's a different camera angle, PGMOL and VAR should have used it and shown it. We probably would have seen it and shown it on the air. Quoting Webb, I was surprised by some of the comments post-game on this. It's a clear offside situation. He said this on Sky Sports. Match officials mic'd up. It's a clear offside situation. The technology was used quite rightly from the calibrated cameras to identify that Garnacho was ahead of Gabriel, and the goal was quite rightly disallowed after initially being awarded on the field incorrectly. Webb was less bullish on the process, which allowed Manchester City to score their second goal in a 5-1 win over Fulham. Nathan Ake headed in a Phil Foden corner, but the ball passed close to Manuel Akanji, who was offside. Akanji did not touch the ball, but did make a movement as it passed him, and Webb said the goal should not have stood. Quote, I think this should have been disallowed. It certainly appears that Akanji has an impact on Bernd Leno, the goalkeeper, who seems to hesitate. Unfortunately, it wasn't identified on the day, and of course, the learning from this one will also be shared amongst all of our group because we're always looking to do better each and every weekend. This was an error, end quote. There was an uproar after the opening weekend. Once again, the article from the Telegraph continues. When Wolves were denied a late penalty at Manchester United following Andre Onana's collision with Sasa Kaladzic, the PGMOL, the referee's body, apologized shortly after the match to Wolves. Webb stressed again that they had been wronged. And he goes into that particular call. Despite those errors, Webb defended VAR's use overall. There had been, he said, quote, a lot of good interventions, a lot of check completes. It's there as a safety net for those clear errors. Obviously, we need to do better when we get it wrong. Take a learning, but overall, I'm pleased with the use of it, end quote. Speaking of Manchester United, from James Drucker. Once again, we've mentioned Anthony. Mason Greenwood was introduced at Getafe. And there were plenty of folks there as he joined Getafe on loan. And I want to see if I can find where the video is. This might be just your visual of the day when it comes to Mason Greenwood. Yeah, four card. Where is Jason? Webb learned from Red Bull games versus Atlanta United and told Darren it was wrong. Exactly. Well, I mean, Jason would have to be watching the match first and foremost. Okay, let's see. And we'll come up with other news in and around as we go here. Let me see if I can find the Greenwood. Okay, yeah, this is where I was going. Sid Lowe, who was in Getafe for the Mason Greenwood unveiling. Mason Greenwood's unveiled in front of 4,000 fans. They're cheering as Greenwood comes walking through the tunnel. Getafe's sporting director, Ruben Reyes, insisted that Mason Greenwood is just a footballer and the same as any other. He arrived in Spain on a year-long loan deal, no option to buy, said he was happy to have joined the La Liga side during Tuesday's event, but did not face any questions from the media by agreement between United and Getafe. There was no sign of protest or any discomfort in relation to the fact Greenwood was charged by Greater Manchester Police with attempted rape, controlling and coercive behavior, and assault in October 2022. After allegations were made online, the charges, all of which Greenwood denied, were dropped in February this year, with the Crown Prosecution Service saying, quote, a combination of the withdrawal of key witnesses and new material that came to light meant there was no longer a realistic prospect of conviction, end quote. Instead, excitement with the Englishman, the most celebrated of the three new signings, presented at Getafe's Coliseum Alfonso Perez Stadium. He followed Oscar Rodriguez and Diego Rico out the tunnel to a big cheer. Same had been true at the morning training session open to the public. Ray is adamant that he had no reason to hesitate over signing the 21-year-old. Sporting director said that football was his only concern, that he was not worried about the social outcry and does not anticipate having to protect or manage Greenwood any differently to anyone else. Quote, we did what we do, sign players that are available to sign, the sporting director said. There is no need for us to handle anything off the pitch. We've signed a footballer who is just the same as Diego Rico and Oscar Rodriguez, and that's it. We have to do our job, and that's what we focus on, end quote. When Reyes was asked about the off-field issues surrounding Greenwood for a third time, a member of Getafe's press team stepped in, quote, "It is a year's loan. It's very difficult to get an option to buy on a player like him. He will be here all season," Reyes added. "There are internal discussions between the clubs, but those are small details that we try not to share. They appreciated the effort, how convinced we were. We were very excited with him. He's a player that we knew was out there. We worked on it, gathered information, and bit by bit we saw that there could be a possibility. Spoke to his family, to his dad, to his people for a long time. We were able to convince him to come here to trust in us. We're satisfied. He plays very free. So if he was on a school playground, he has a very high level. We dreamed that we could bring him here, and sometimes that gets fulfilled." Then he was asked, Reyes was asked about how fit Mason Greenwood was. But Sid Lowe in Getafe for the Mason Greenwood unveiling. We mentioned Leicester. Gwen Topham for The Guardian says the pilot of the helicopter in the fatal crash at Leicester's football stadium in 2018 told his passengers, "I have no idea what's going on," as the aircraft spun out of control, accident investigators reported. Inspector said the crash, which killed the owner of Leicester City's football club, Vishai Svivadana Prabha, 3 other passengers and the pilot, was a tragic accident. Mechanical failure through a worn ball bearing in the tail rotor led to a loss of control after takeoff at King Power Stadium. A report from the Air Accidents Investigation Branch, published almost 5 years after the crash, October 27, 2018, cleared the pilot of any error, ruled out a collision with a drone. 4 of the 5 people were found to have survived the initial crash before dying when the aircraft was engulfed in fire less than a minute later. Investigators said the pilot had been relaxed before the fatal flight 50 minutes later. Pedals became disconnected from the tail rotor, and the helicopter took a sharp right turn, which was impossible to control. And you have cockpit voice recordings, about 130 meters. So that's about 2.2, 260, 290 feet in the air before losing control outside the stadium. So that is now official word. Where was the other story? Okay. Guardian has an exclusive story. Nick Ames in Berlin. Here's your headline. The battle for the future of European football intensifies with a Belgian club being barred from the ECA. Union Saint-Gilloise was blocked after joining a body of smaller clubs. The ECA hopes to show it's not just about the elite sides. Union Saint-Gilloise blocked from renewing their European Club Association membership after signing up to a new body that represents small and medium-sized teams. Saint-Gilloise were informed this year that their role in the nascent Union of European Clubs would violate statutes drawn up by the ECA, a far larger organization that UEFA legitimizes as the sole entity representing clubs' interests. In effect, it meant they were thrown out. It's an example of deep fault lines developing in the continental game as teams beyond the elite call for greater say in the sport's future direction. Once again, this is Nick Ames at The Guardian. In September of 22, Saint-Gilloise, a Brussels-based success story that reached last season's Europa League quarterfinals after progressing from the lower divisions, became members of the ECA network. Lowest tier of membership, essentially giving them a voice in the room and access to the wider resources, but no voting rights. After qualifying for this season's competition, attaining Belgium's third highest UEFA coefficient, they were invited to become ordinary members in the ECA cycle, affording them a vote. But upon disclosing their membership of the EUEC, which launched in April, they were frozen out. London-based majority owner of Saint-Gilloise, Alex Muzio. They rang me politely to inform me it was not permitted and that they'd send an email rejecting us. The club refused to consider standing down from the UEC, of which Muzio is a board member. Article 8 of the ECA statute stipulates member clubs are not going to be a party to or a member of any other organization, association, organization, or grouping. Now, this sets up everything for the ECA General Assembly in Berlin today and tomorrow. UEC was created to give the smaller sides a voice with the ultimate goal of its own seat at the UEFA table, known to have signed up 121 clubs. Expects to list its full membership later this year. Solidarity payments handed by UEFA to clubs that do not play in European competitions loom large in the UEC sites. Currently, 5% of the £3.2 billion revenue from Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League is spread around those clubs, but it amounts to the tiniest drop in the ocean when compared to the riches on offer those competing on the highest stage. The impact on competitive balance in domestic leagues and even pan-European tournaments becoming starker since in some quarters that only a share of around 20% for those who do not qualify for Europe would afford them any chance of keeping pace. Outside of the ECA, there's a perception that despite having 245 members in the previous cycle, the power is concentrated in the hands of a wealthy few. 16 permanent founder members, United, Chelsea, Rangers, and well under half of its clubs have full voting rights. UEC proposes a one club, one vote model to its potential members that does not take into account a club's size. So keep that in mind. ECA and UEC battling back and forth when it comes to all of this stuff. Damari Gray set for Al Ettifaq after the £8 million deal has been agreed to. That was one of the things that we were keeping an eye on yesterday. 1,481 transfer deals. Transfers by club, to a total of £5.7 billion. All deals from the top 5 leagues. £5.7 billion on almost 1,500 deals that were put together. So we'll keep an eye on all of that stuff. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and what to watch before we go. Tomorrow, your traffic, by the way. We're going to have the USL guys on, and they're going to discuss what's been going on in USL Championship. And if you've missed the review preview show for both USL League One and USL Championship, those are available on the network. Don't forget to download the app. Google Play has the Soccer Down Here app, and also on iPhones, go to Spreaker, our parent company that is in charge of creating these apps and things, and that's where we house all of our programming. And Spreaker, it's like speaker with an R in the middle. Go to Spreaker, download their app, do a search for Soccer Down Here, do a search for OSG Sports for all your college football content and everything else that's going on. So, gossip for today. Here's your gossip. Manchester City are monitoring Brighton's striker Evan Ferguson in the belief that he could play alongside Erling Haaland. You know there's going to be a price tag there. Mbappe reportedly open to the idea of joining Liverpool next summer as he looks for a 2024 departure from PSG. That's according to L'Equipe. Manchester United have opened talks about extending Aaron Wan-Bissaka's contract after he impressed Erik ten Hag with his progress this year. United also said to have interest in João Palhinha and could move for the Portugal international in January. Liverpool were willing to swap Darwin Núñez for João Felix, but João Felix didn't want to go to Liverpool. Manchester United, Aston Villa were also interested. Felix was not. Forced a loan move to Barca from Atletico Madrid. 4-letter paper once again reminding us that neither Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Sheikh Jassim have been told the club will be taken off the market. Raheem Sterling will not retire from international football despite again being omitted from Gareth Southgate's squad. Damari Gray expected to leave Goodison Park. That was signed about an hour ago. 4-year deal with Al Ettifaq, managed by Steven Gerrard. £8 million the deal. West Ham locked in a battle with Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. That's not a battle that you want to get locked in. West Ham, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, all interested in Jesse Lingard. Denmark midfielder Jesper Lindstrom turned down a £25 million move from Eintracht Frankfurt to Liverpool, joined Napoli instead because he'll get more game time with the Serie A champs. Chelsea want Ian Maatsen to sign a new long-term deal at Stamford Bridge after he turned down a £31 million transfer deadline day move to a former loan club in Burnley. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Jorginho's agent says that the midfielder will stay at Arsenal despite interest from Fenerbahce in the Turkish Super League, where the transfer window remains open until the 15th of September. So we have one more day in Saudi Arabia and 8 more days with the Turkish Premier League. Christoph Galche sacked by PSG in July, set to return to management by replacing Hernan Crespo as boss of Qatari side Al Dahail. That's from RMC Sport in France. So early returns on your news there. Let's see what the papers have to say. Once again, we'll go over all of the stuff to watch today as we move forward here in a bit. Obviously, there's a lot of talk involving Mo Salah. And Al Ittihad is looking, once again, we've seen 200 million rumored. We've seen 215 rumored to bring in Mo Salah to Al Ittihad. So you got that to keep an eye on. And so you have other folks who are looking at a Phil Foden transfer fee, and they're sitting there saying if Salah is right up there, then so is Phil Foden. Of course he is. Keeping an eye on all of this stuff. And there's, with all of these names that are out there, everybody's sitting there going, well, my player is worth this much. My player is worth this much. Well, we got into that discussion yesterday. The overinflation of the marketplace might come back to get to you. We mentioned Jorge Vilda getting sacked when Bart was on with us. Vilda has branded his sacking as unfair. It's unfair. He had a press conference yesterday. Or actually, he was on the radio, Cadena Ser, yesterday. Quote, I am as well as you can be, having been fired after being world champions 10 days ago. I believe I have been fired unfairly. In sporting terms, I'm going to accept all criticism, but on a personal level, I believe it has been unfair. It has been a special year. I've seen it as a master's degree. Nothing has ever been said directly, but indirectly, things have been said that do not sit well with me. Things have been said that are not true. He added of his dismissal, it was a brief meeting with Pedro Rocha and the vice president of equality. The explanation is that there have been structural changes. Once again, this is Vilda's words from an interview at Cadena Ser in Spain. After everything I've achieved, after giving my 100%, my conscience is clear. I don't understand the firing. I didn't think I deserved it. Reminder, all of your backroom staff, they resigned in protest, sir. And then you applauded your boss's thoughts about the comments at the extraordinary meeting. All of Spain's World Cup squad ruling themselves out of selection while the president remained at the post. Rubiales, remember, name-checking Vilda, saying, hey, dude, I'll pay you 500 million euro a year because you've earned it. And Vilda eventually releases a statement criticizing Rubiales, but not calling for his resignation or his dismissal. So you applaud him first. Then you come back and you put out a statement. Then when he's asked about it at the time, he says, I will never applaud anything sexist. I didn't really know why I was going to that press conference. I thought there was going to be a resignation. The president valued my work and announced my renewal, and I applauded that. I also applaud Rubiales' management of women's football with a budget that is multiplied by 4. Also, when 150 people around you are applauding, it is very difficult to be the one who isn't. So he's blaming the room. Blaming the room. Keep an eye on Semra Hunter's Twitter, by the way, or X, or her 280 character app. She is a must follow in these situations. She has been plugged into it very, very well. And when she was asked by the BBC on Newsday about it, she admitted deep, meaningful change hasn't happened yet. Vilda has not spoken to Jenny Hermoso, and he thinks he's being unfairly criticized in all of this. So, Jorge Vilda doesn't think he deserved getting sacked, hasn't spoken to Jenny Hermoso, claims he thought he was attending a resignation and didn't want to be the only guy not applauding in the room, and thinks he's being unfairly criticized. So that's what you're getting from Jorge Vilda as all of this. And we mentioned Manchester United and Antony. They're taking seriously, in quotation marks, allegations of domestic abuse made against the forward. A club statement, all of 2 sentences. Manchester United acknowledges the allegations made against Antony and notes the police are conducting inquiries. Pending further information, the club will be making no further comments. As a club, we are taking this matter seriously with consideration of impact of these allegations and subsequent reporting we'll have on survivors of abuse. And you really can't. I mean, legitimately, you can't be surprised that the statement by Manchester United was only that far. They can only say so much when there's something akin to a legal investigation going on. They can only say that. But Manchester United now has 2 sentences on the record when it comes to what we are staring at when it comes to the current Antony investigation. Looking through all the other papers, the Independent also confirming Manchester City chasing after Evan Ferguson. Avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter paper and all the other news involving cricket and other sports. Where was it? Daily Mirror. Sofian Amrabat had a slight back injury before he completed the deadline day move to Old Trafford. Ronald Koeman has blasted Ryan Gravenberch, insisting he is not happy with the Liverpool's new signing refusing to play for the Netherlands U21s. Michael Carrick, defender Michael Carrick, has been given a glowing reference from Wayne Rooney before signing Lewis O'Brien, who had a spell under Rooney at DC United. And Daily Express, Jesper Lindstrom, we talked about that. Lisandro Martinez escaped a serious injury after concerns over his withdrawal in Sunday's defeat to Arsenal. Philippe Coutinho set to complete his departure from Aston Villa to join Al Duhail. Mentioned Aaron Wan-Bissaka's deal. Remember Mike Ashley? Former owner of Newcastle, looks like he is trying to buy a stadium for rugby. Headingley, £22 million plus. Rangers chair, according to the Daily Record, John Bennett will resist calls to sack manager Michael Beale during the international break, despite an outpouring of fan fury following the Old Firm defeat against Celtic. Hibs only have to pay a release clause of around £50,000, and Bam had mentioned this earlier, if they want to appoint current Central Coast Mariners boss Nick Montgomery as their new manager. And draconian, in quotation marks, proposals to curb bus travel to football matches in Scotland, which are already in use in England and Wales, have been slammed by fans and opposition politicians. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. I know that Ricky wanted to try and figure out Euro qualifications and how they are attached to Atlanta United players. Greece is at the Netherlands tomorrow at 2:45. Greece are a plus 641. Georgia is hosting Spain. They're the early game on Friday, noon Eastern, hosting Spain at a plus 885. Spain is a minus 323. And I know that you also wanted to double check and see about all of the other call-ups and see who is going where and when they play. So we need to know about the others. All right, so let's go to where is it? And when you got so many tabs open, you're trying to figure out where something is, and it might take you a minute. All right, so let's see. World. Is there something in World, maybe? World? Club friendlies. We need South America. Or do we? Yes. Go Yakimakis. All right. So Champions League, Europa League. I am trying to find Central and South America. Where are Central and South America? Or as they call it, North America? How do they? I'm trying to figure out from our favorite juice box purveyor how they label North and Central America. Here we go. CONCACAF Nations League. And then click on it. There we go. Let's see. Numbers have finally popped up, and I'm trying to see who we. All right. So we need Peru, Argentina, Haiti, Bolivia. Peru, Argentina, Haiti, and Bolivia. So Haiti, where are we? Haiti and Cuba. Haiti is Friday at 4:00 against Cuba. Haiti is favored at a -179. Cuba is a +459. Now we need to go to South America. And we only have Libertadores and Sudamericana posted right now in South America. So when we get into, we know about the Argentine friendlies and such. So friendlies, international friendlies. Today we've got a handful. Let's see. Checking our South American partners. Costa Rica's got Saudi Arabia. USA Uzbekistan is on Saturday at 5:30. USA is a -357, as Uzbekistan is a +945. And USA against Oman on the 12th. USA, no shock, they're a -476. So those are what we know at the moment. When the South American numbers pop up and the dates pop up, then we'll get you. I think we're on the other side of the week next week with the South American days. But when those pop up, obviously we'll do the juice boxes that are attached there as well. Also, what to watch on TV today. African Cup of Nations qualifiers on BN and BN Espanol. If you don't have Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, it was announced that Fanatis is going to be showing South American championships. They're going to be showing Copa. I don't know if that's an extra added cost or not, but Fanatis has it, and they will be airing it. So if they're airing it and it's a part of what you currently get with Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, you can watch. I don't know if it's an added on top thing or not. NWSL Challenge Cup sponsored by our friends at UKG. Semis are at 8 and 10. Kansas City, North Carolina, Reign, and Louisville. Malta and Gibraltar in a friendly at 2:00 on FS2. On the plus tonight, USL Championship, a big matchup in the Eastern Conference. Memphis and Tampa Bay is at 8. League One, Omaha, North Carolina, Northern Colorado, and Lexington SC at 9:00. You can get your preview available on the app with highlights from last week and getting you ready for juice boxes heading into tonight in USL Championship, USL League One. MLS Next Pro Show will be out later this afternoon. College action on the plus as well, 5 games, men's and women's, afternoon and evening. And on Flow, UConn and Marist at 7:00. InSports.tv, which I've never heard of before, has the Yezek Cup, the U18 men's, and it's where the U17s for the U.S. are taking on the Ukraine U18s. That is just started. InSports.tv, something I have never heard of in my entire life, but they are showing you what's going on at the Yezek Cup, the U18 championships in Eastern Europe. So that is another round with us. But we did not get on the table. What did we not talk about today? We did talk about Robin Fraser, Bruce Arena. We did talk about Maxi Morales and the ligament damage, and he's going to be out for a while. Real Madrid Stadium is still on the board. And then obviously updating some of the news from our friends overseas. And we'll catch up with that again tomorrow. Once again, 10:00 hour, pretty crowded. The USL guys will be here to talk about USL Championship. And Nico Moreno will join us to discuss everything going on in the Pacific perspective. 9:00 start tomorrow because we have press conferences that we have to attend involving Atlanta United 2 as they get ready for the road trip to Huntsville this weekend to take on Hunt City. And that'll be on the pregame show on Sunday night here on the network. Atlanta United 2, Hunt City from Huntsville. 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock Eastern will be your broadcast, and it'll be a fun one. Atlanta United 2, 7 points out, 3 matches to go. They need to match the result of Chicago Fire. Chicago Fire will have played at 5 o'clock. Their match will be in the barn before Atlanta United takes the field at Joe Davis to see what's up there, and they will know what they need to do in their penultimate road match of the season. So thanks to Kefty, thanks to Four Card, thanks to David, thanks to Ricky, thanks to Bam. Let's see, who am I missing? Hutch, Ricky, as always, Michael Head, Nix, glad you're here. David, glad you are here. Let's see, David, Ricky, Bam, Nix. I'm trying to see DM Tim, glad you were here as well this morning. I think I've got everybody and Alex. Good morning, Alex. And that's everybody in the Twitch pitch, as always. Thanks for all of you guys for hanging out with us here live, whether we're on Twitch, whether we're on Twitter, whether we're on Facebook for SDH. And this will post in a little bit to the app, and you can listen to it all over again. Thanks to Dylan Butler. Thanks to Bart for doing everything that they did in hours 1 and 2 in the Fatal 4-Way that we had to start hour number 2. That was always fun. So, as always, we'll be back at it again 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll discuss stuff. That's the official term. We'll get you ready for all the activity going on, international duty, all the things we need to talk about, all the news that's fit to print, and all the guests we have in hour number 2. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks for hanging out with us on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Play it safe, everybody. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. We'll do it again 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.